Hello, welcome to Yoga with Rachael. I'm Rachel, thank you for joining me today for our Vata pacifying practice. So earlier in the year I've released my Pitta pacifying yoga practice, and then before that, sort of around Christmas and the New Year, I released my Kapha pacifying practice. So we're officially into autumn, and the day I'm filming this, yesterday, it was the autumnal equinox, so that time of moving officially into autumn or the fall season. And the equinox is finding that equilibrium, that balance between light and dark, before we then sadly move into the darker season towards winter. So when we come into this type of practice, we want to really be aware of grounding down, finding those poses where we go into the hips and finding our balance, whether that's working with typical or traditional balances where we're working with lunges and our tree pose, we're balancing on the feet or on one foot, or even having a play with some arm balances. So we're going to find a comfortable seat. You might need to use a yoga belt at some point during this practice, so if you have one, do pause the video, go grab that now so you've got that in place so you don't have to pause it later on. And then we're either going to have the legs crossed, or you might have the knees bent, feet on the mat, make sure there's a bit of space between the knees, the thighs, the belly, or if it's comfortable, extend the legs out in front of you. So see which feels more comfortable for you. Have a little wiggle around on the tailbone, sitting up nice and tall. We might be releasing the shoulders down and away from the ears. Hands might rest into the lap or onto the knees. Just closing the eyes and bringing your awareness to your breath. Checking with how the breath feels. And this is one of the quickest, easiest ways to check in with that Vata dosha, that Vata constitution. Vata is all about air and space. It's that movement of the breath. Much like when we have the breeze outside, it's either very, very calm or it's quite rushed and forced when we get those gale force winds or hurricanes. So you have one or the other. And we tend to find that the same, or can come across the same way in the breath in our body. So we're either calm, relaxed, the breath is quite slow, quite soft. It might feel like it's not there, but in a very relaxed sense. Or it could be that it's very, very forced, very short and sharp, very sort of into the shoulders, the chest. See if we can draw it down into the belly. And you might stay with your natural breathing, just aware of each inhale and exhale through the nose or the mouth. We'll come into a little bit of Ujjayi breath, our ocean's breath. So we're going to see if we can find that whisper, that soft sigh at the back of the throat with the mouth open as we exhale. So inhaling through the nose, exhaling out to the mouth from the back of the throat, and hear that lovely soft sigh, that inhaling through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth. So continuing with your breath. Imagine that you're sitting in front of a window or a mirror and you're trying to fog that surface up with the exhale. Or even have a go with placing your hand in front of you, and as you exhale, just be aware of that breath, that onto the palm of the hand. And it may feel quite warm where it's gone down into the belly and come out through the body and back out into the world. So have a few more rounds, inhaling and exhaling out of the mouth. Bringing your awareness back to your natural breath rhythm. So we might continue exhaling out of the mouth for a few rounds or exhaling through the nose. And we're going to just gently extend, release the legs out if the legs were crossed or the knees were bent. And just wiggle the legs, just sitting up nice and tall, so check that you're not tucking under the tailbone. Just bringing your awareness to something really slow, really simple, like moving the feet. So we can start to flex the feet, so the toes point up towards the ceiling. Keep the heels on the mat, just be mindful if you are someone that can naturally lift the heels but not going that far, we want to just keep it into the ankles as we flex and point the toes up. And then from there we can gently point the toes away from us and keep the movement nice and slow. So if you're very typically Vata, we might find that we move very quickly. So as we move in the body, we might find that we move very, very quickly. So see if you can slow that movement down as we move and release the legs. So we might just stay with this movement, or we can see how slowly we can invite that movement in as we create circles with the feet. And the legs, the feet, the ankles might be clicking as we do these sorts of movements, changing directions. And if you notice that the movement sped up, slow the movement down. And we might have a go with moving the feet in opposite directions, still drawing those circular movements, or they may look a little bit more like side to side or up and down, perfectly fine. Seeing if you can change directions again. And don't worry if you naturally move quite quickly, just be aware of the fact that you do. See if you can slow that movement down a little bit more. So from here, we're going to cross the legs, coming into Sukhasana. So see if you can sit with one foot, one ankle in front of the other. So rather than drawing or pulling the feet underneath the knees, we're going to see if we can sit in sort of what we call Sukhasana or easy pose. It may not be easy for everyone because sitting cross-legged isn't always comfortable. We won't be here for too long. But just notice whether you have left leg, right leg in front, doesn't matter, we will be changing sides. From here, we're going to take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, roll the shoulders away from the ears, pull the hands as much as you can without straining away from your back. And your choice, so we might stay here, we might lift the chin as we open through the throat, we might tuck the chin, just stretching through the neck, or we might from here hinge forward at the hips, starting to draw the forehead down towards the mat, maybe forehead or crown meet. See if you can lift the arms up and away from your lower back. Focusing on the breath. If you folded forward, slowly lift. Releasing the hands, give the shoulders a shrug, looking down at the feet. So from here we're going to change the cross of the legs. And we've changed the cross of the legs, we're also going to change the interlace of the hands. So just have a look and see how you interlace the hands or interlace the fingers. Then you might find that you have one finger, the index finger that sits on top, that's your dominant side. So we want to see if we can uninterlace and interlace the other way around. So we can do this a couple of times in front so we can see what we're doing. And see if you can bring the other index finger on top. Take the hands behind you and see if you can find that opposite interlace now behind you. And again, roll the shoulders down and away from the ears. Pull the hands away from the back. We might stay upright. We might be lifting the chin or tucking the chin. Or from here, hinge forward at the hips, drawing forehead down towards the mat. Maybe forehead crown meet. And from there, lift the arms up and away from the back. Focusing on the breath. When you're ready, slowly lifting, releasing the hands, releasing the legs, give the legs a bit of a wiggle. You can even bring the hands together and interlace the fingers. And focusing on the breath. So from here, we're going to have a go with our seated half pigeon. So we're not coming into double pigeon or fire log, but we're going to have a go with the half variation. So we're going to stretch our left leg out and flex the foot, so the toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to take our right foot and bring the foot and the ankle, so they hover just off of the side of your left leg. So just check as to whether you're placing the ankle onto the thigh or even the foot onto the thigh, and then you end up looking at the sole of the foot. So we want the sole of the foot facing to the left, and we want the ankle hovering off of the side of the thigh, letting that right leg, the right hip relax, and you might need to support the leg. If you're sitting here for long periods of time, I would suggest using a bolster or a couple of blocks to support the knee, especially if you feel the knee's very lifted. And then from here, we're going to bend into the left knee, so we're lifting that right shin up towards the chest. This might be enough for you, or we might have a go at twisting round to the left. So you're twisting towards your lifted foot, that right foot, so you're twisting to the left. Taking the left hand behind you, you might rest your right hand onto the right leg, the right shin, or see if you can place the right hand down to your left hip. We might look to the left or have a go with twisting around to look over the left shoulder. Slowly come back round, facing forward, straighten the left leg, place the right foot onto the mat, right knee in towards the belly, reach the left arm forward, wrap it around the right leg and start to twist to the right, place the right hand behind you and gently looking to the right, or even go a little bit deeper into the twist as we gently look over the right shoulder. Focusing on the breath. And coming back round, releasing the right leg out, give the legs a bit of a wiggle, point and flex the feet, and we're going to have a go on the other side. So we're going to keep the right leg straight, toes are flexed, bring the left knee up, and we're going to place that left foot so it just hovers off of the side of the legs. I'm going to do this the other way around just so you can see in the other direction of where we're sitting. So my leg is here and it's just placing the other leg on top. So we've got the ankle points down towards the mat, flexing the foot so you're pointing the sole of the foot out to the side, sitting up nice and tall, and then we can start to bend into the right knee to place the right foot onto the mat, so drawing the left shin towards the chest and the belly. And this might be enough, we might be looking forward or have a go with twisting to the right, so we place the hand behind us, left arm might rest onto the left leg, or see if we can place the left hand down by the right hip. We might look to the right, or continue the twist a little bit into the belly, the chest, as we look over the right shoulder. Slowly coming back round, straighten that right leg as we place the left foot onto the mat, reach the right arm forward, wrap the arm around the leg, take the left hand with you as we look over to the left or even round the left shoulder. Focusing on the breath. Slowly releasing, stretch the left leg forward, give the legs a bit of a wiggle, point and flex the feet, and come on up into tabletop. So find your way to about the middle of the mat, knees are on the mat underneath the hips, hands on the mat underneath the shoulders with the fingertips nice and wide, just coming into a few rounds of cat cows. Inhale, lift the chin, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin and tailbone under. Staying with your breath. Inhale, lift the chin, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin and tailbone under. Remember, pause if you need to, whether that's coming into child's pose. Maybe you're coming into some wrist stretches. So we're going to start to bring our awareness to our balance, bringing a little bit more into the core. So on your next inhale, as we move through the flat back to lift the chin, lift your right knee off the mat and push the right foot up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, scoop the knee into the belly, tucking the chin to chest. Inhale, lifting, and exhale, rounding. Staying with your breath. Keeping the movement nice and slow. Few more. Last one, inhale. Exhale, knee to belly, chin to chest. Inhale, place the knee down. Lift the chin, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding through the spine, changing sides. Inhale, lift the chin, left knee lifts, lifting, push the foot up towards the ceiling. Exhale, knee to belly, chin to chest. Inhale, lift. And exhale, round. Staying with your breath, keep going. Last one, inhale, lifting. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, place the knee down, lift the chin, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding, and just lowering down for a few breaths into child's pose. When you're ready, come back up into tabletop and checking in with your downward facing dog. Spreading the fingertips nice and wide, tucking under the toes. Pull the shoulders back, drawing the knees up off the mat as we lift the tailbone high. Keep the knees bent so we can focus on finding that lovely straight spine. So we're not rounding in the upper back as we draw the chest and the belly towards the thighs. If it feels comfortable in the legs, we might be walking just gently on the spot as we bend one knee and straighten, bend the other knee and straighten. Remember, pause when you need to. Come down into tabletop. So we might pause here for some cat cows or some wrist stretches, or coming back into child's pose just for a few moments before we come back to those knee to belly cat cows for another little play on our core. And maybe checking in with a transition. So listen to your body. There are lots of reasons why this one might not work, so don't force it. So depending on how our arm strength is, core strength, leg strength, we're only going to be having a go lifting up on one leg as well. So depending on what's happening with the feet, the toes, don't force this transition. There's lots of ways that we can work with it. So play if it feels right to come up into this variation of our knee to belly cat curls and lifting into downward facing dog with our down dog splits. So from tabletop, tucking under the toes, we're going to check in with the right leg. As we inhale, lift the chin, lift the right leg, push the foot up towards the ceiling, keep the knee bent. Exhale, scoot the knee into the belly, tuck the chin to chest. Inhale, lift the left knee off the mat as we draw up into downward dog, push the right leg back and up, down dog splits. Exhale, lower all the way down into tabletop, tucking under the toes. Inhale, lift the chin, this time left leg lifts, push the foot up towards the ceiling as you keep the knee bent. Exhale, knee to belly, chin to chest. Inhale, right knee lifts as you draw back and up into downward dog, push the left leg back up, down dog splits. Exhale, lower all the way back down. So have a couple more goes. If it doesn't work, then still work with the cat curls. But as you get to here, knee to belly, inhale, place the knees down, come on up into downward dog and lift up, down dog splits. And exhale, lower. So you still get the movement of that lifting of the leg, knee to belly, but we place the knee down before we lift and then extend the legs back and up and lowering back down. So one more go each side, or maybe you're pausing in child's pose. And have a breath or two, either in child's pose or come up to sitting if you need to have a drink. So from here we're going to work with our high lunge and low lunge. We're going to have a go with a little sequence just once each side. So come up into tabletop, work with the variation for the transition that works for you. So you might keep the knee into the belly as you lift the leg, or you might bring the knee down and come up into downward dog and then into down dog split. So just be mindful of how you feel in your body. So tucking under the toes, inhale, lift the chin, right leg lifts. Exhale, knee to belly, tucking the chin to chest. Inhale your transition, down dog splits, stretching that right leg back and up. Exhale, bring the knee into the belly, pull the shoulders forward, knee to belly plank. Place your right foot in between the hands, give it a nudge if you need to. Really grounded through the right foot, right knee's over the ankle, pushing through that left foot. So we've got the ball of the foot on the mat, extend, push the heel away. Inhale, push through the feet as we lift the arms forward and up, come up into your high lunge. Focusing on the breath. From here, slowly coming into low lunge. You might just slowly lower the left knee down. You might use the hands for support on the mat first, then bring them back up. Keep the right hand lifted, bring your left hand to your left hip. Slowly reach the right arm over to the left, finding that side stretch through the right hip, the right side waist. Slowly lift. On an inhale, left arm lifts forward and up. Exhale, bring the hands all the way down, step or slide a right foot back into tabletop. Tuck under the toes. Inhale, lifting the left leg, lifting the chin. Exhale, knee to belly, chin to chest. Inhale, lifting the right knee up, pushing up and back into down dog splits with that left leg. Exhale, knee to belly plank, knee to the belly, pull the shoulders forward. Take your time as you place the left foot down. Left knee is over the ankle. We're on the ball of the right foot, push the heel away, so grounding through the feet. Inhale, lifting the arms forward and up for our high lunge pose. Focusing on the breath. Use the hands if you need to, so you can bring them down onto the mat before lowering the right knee down. Keep the left arm lifted this time, so bring the right hand to the right hip, reaching the left arm over to the right. Check you're not holding your breath. Slowly we lift up, inhale, right arm forward and up. Exhale, bringing the hands all the way down. We're going to lift the right knee as you set the left foot back into downward facing dog. Walking through the legs. You'll transition to your standing forward fold, so you might walk feet to hands, hands to feet, step or hop. And rolling through the spine, up to standing. So stand around the middle of the back of the mat. Keep the feet hip width apart. If you're not sure if they are, bring the feet together, turn the toes out, let the heels follow. Inhale, raise the arms forward and up. Exhale, bend the knees, sitting down into chair pose. So keep the chin and chest lifted, but not folding over the legs. Make sure that you're sitting as comfortably as possible. So you might be quite high, or you might be sitting quite low, whatever feels right into the legs. Letting the arms release forward, down past the hips. Interlace the hands behind you. Inhale, roll the shoulders away, lift the chin. Exhale, start to straighten the legs as we fold forward, tucking chin to chest, and lift the hands, the arms up and away from the back. Keep the shoulders rolling away from the ears, focusing on the breath. On an inhale, halfway lift as you lift the chin, bring the hands to your lower back. Exhale, release fingers, tips or palms to the mat, tucking chin to chest. Inhale, all the way up to standing, raise the arms up. Exhale, releasing hands down by the side. So we're going to do that again, same we did on the mat when we were sitting down. We changed that interlace of the fingers. We're going to see if we can do that again in our chair pose. So inhaling, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, sit down into your chair. Check you're not pushing the tailbone back, so you don't want to feel this pinching in the back. So you might need to tuck the tailbone in without pushing forward into the hips and the knees. Exhale, just the arms release forward and down. Interlace the fingers the wrong way around than we normally would. Inhale, lift the chin, lift the chest. Exhale, start to fold forward and let the arms lift up and away from the lower back. Focusing on the breath. Inhale, halfway lift as you lift the chin, bring the hands to the lower back. Exhale, release the fingertips or the palms of the mat and tuck the chin to chest as you fold. Inhale all the way up to standing, raise the arms forward and up. And exhale, releasing the arms back down by the hips. So we're going to check in or continue checking in with our balance as we're going to have a go with tree pose and knee to belly. So this will be the point in a moment where we're going to maybe have a go with using the belt. If you feel particularly wobbly, then use the wall for your support or use a chair so you find that muscle memory first. So really be aware of placing your left foot onto the mat. So big toe across the little toe, all the way to the heel, through either outer edge and inner edge of the foot. Keep a slight bend in the knee and then lift up onto the tip of the right toe. So check that you're not here. It's a big difference with tucking the toes under and pushing through the foot still, rather than it just being the tip of the toe. So there's no weight going through that leg, through the foot or the toes into the mat. Gently turning the right knee to the right, so we start to open the hip. And we're going to bring the right foot to the left ankle or slide up to the shin. So make sure you're below the knee and just above the ankle. And we can push the foot then into the shin bone, much like it would be pushing into the mat if it was still on the floor. If you feel wobbly, do just correct yourself by bringing that foot back down and then finding the pose again. If it's in your practice, we can find the thigh bone, but again, make sure that time you're above the knee, so we don't use the knee joint at all. Hands might stay by the hips. We might bring the hands into namaste, or we might reach the arms up and out for our full tree pose. Focusing on the breath. If the arms are lifted, bring the hands down by the hips. And we're going to bring that right knee into the belly. We might hold on to the thigh, the knee or the shin, but check that you're not rounding in the back. So we want to keep drawing and pushing the shoulders back. So shoulders stay over the hips rather than hunching forward. So check that you're not squashing into the belly. Release the left hand by the hip, or use the wall with the left hand if you need that support for your balance. Gently, very slowly start to take that right knee out to the side again. Keep the hips facing forward, chest facing forward, so we're not twisting the body around. Bring the right knee back in and lower the right foot down to the mat. Give that left leg a bit of a shake because it's been doing all the work at the moment. And we're going to change sides. So big toe grounds down all the way to the little toe, outer edge, the heel, the inner edge, slight bend in the right knee. Tip of the left toes find the mat. Open the hip, bring the foot to the ankle or to the shin, but stay below the knee. Maybe you're finding the thigh, but make sure you're above the knee, so we're not using the knee joint at all for support. If you feel wobbly, come back out to the pose and slowly take your time to find your way back into your tree pose. Rooting down through that standing balancing leg, pushing the lifted leg into the shin or into the thigh. Hands might stay with the hips or into namaste, or reach the arms up and above the ground. Focus on the breath. If the arms are lifted, bring the hands back down. Bring that left knee into the belly. We might hold on to the thigh, the knee or the shin. Draw the shoulders back. So make sure you're not rounding to get closer to the legs. So keeping the body nice and straight. Release the right hand to the hip, or again you might be using the wall, so you might have changed sides. And see if we can open that left hip again as we take the knee out to the side. Hips, shoulders still looking forward, or chest still looking forward. So we're just rotating, releasing, or shrugging that hip to the side. Slowly coming forward, placing that foot down. And then we might stay there, we might stay with our tree to knee to belly, or we might have a go with a belt. A yoga belt's a little bit easier here because we can create this lovely loop. So we want to thread the belt through the D clasp. So we've then got this nice little loop or lasso so we can catch hold of the foot. So we're taking the belt around the arch of the right foot. If you're having a go with the knee to belly, or the knee to belly, then we can leave the belt for the time being. Or if we're using the belt, we're then going to see if we can have a go with working towards our hand to big toe. So we're using the belt rather than straining to grab hold or find that bind of the toe. So spread the weight over to that left leg again, keep a slight bend in the left knee. Bring the right knee into the belly and reach that right hand down as close as you can to your right foot. So you might be all the way down to the edge of the belt like I am, perfectly fine. From there, as we extend the leg out, you want to make sure that as you do, you let your hand slide up if your hand needs to. So you're keeping the shoulders back, and as you extend, you might find that you have to let the hand slide back. Keep the arms straight, so you're not sliding all the way back here, because otherwise we're not getting anywhere near to the pose. But we're making sure that we're not straining, so we're not folding into the torso, into the belly, as we keep the hand with the foot. So get as close as you can, knee to belly. Then as you push the leg away, maybe we need to let the hand slide up towards the body, still keeping the arms straight, leaning the shoulders back, focusing on the breath. We might try with gently opening that hip again. Do you find the wall? Just push into the wall. Nice little way to work with finding our balance, the same way that we use the chair for our tree, or our knee to belly. So we might have a go a couple of times. Or when you're ready, place the foot down, and we're going to have a go with changing sides. So take the loop around the foot. Spread that weight into the right foot, so take your time, there's no need to rush when we come into working with our balance. So spread the weight through the right foot, nice bend in the knee, slowly we bring the left knee in towards the belly, we reach the left hand down towards the foot. As we extend the leg away, we might find that the hand needs to slide back to keep leaning back with the shoulders. We might stay here, or we might have a go with gently opening out to the side. Don't worry if you bring the knee into the belly, the knee's quite lifted, and as you extend, the leg drops. Perfectly normal as we invite that stretch into the hamstrings. So a few more breaths. And if you're feeling wobbly, this is a good time to use the wall or a chair by your side for that support. Find the muscle memory first. And when you're ready, we can release the belt. And come back to about the middle of the mat. So we've had a go with seated half pigeon, we've had a go with our chair. We're going to check in with doing our standing pigeon pose. So we're going to bring the knee into the belly and place the leg as we just did when we were sitting all the way back at the beginning of the practice. So the foot and the ankle hover off the side of the thigh. From there, bend into the knee, so we sit the tailbone down into our chair pose. We might rest the hands onto the ankle, the knee. We might bring the hands into Namaste, focusing on the breath. When you're ready, slowly releasing, bring the lifted foot down, changing sides. So we lift knee to belly, take the foot over, make sure the foot, the ankle hover off the side of the thigh. Then slowly bend into the standing leg. And I'm wobbling on the side, so we're slowly standing, bending into the standing leg as we sit the tailbone down to sit down into our chair pose. But now we have the leg as we did for our half seated pigeon for our now standing pigeon pose. And this might be a challenge. I know some of my students have said they actually find this variation of chair easier, so you might work with this one a little bit more than normal chair, perfectly fine. Or we might have a go with coming out of the pose and having a go again with the twist that we did whilst we were seated. So we can sit down into the chair, we twist to the lifted leg. So if you've got the right leg lifted, or the right foot lifted, you're going to twist to the left. Woo. And if we're wobbling, do this close to the sofa, or have some pillows and cushions, bring the floor to you. And we might again bring the hands into Namaste like we would for a chair twist, or bring the hands down towards the mat. Coming up and out, changing sides. Taking your time as we go through our twists. We're trying to bring the hands into Namaste, bring the hands down to the mat. Or some of us might have a go with flying pigeon. So as we come into our standing pigeon, from hands to namaste, lean the hands forward, bringing the hands down in front of you, which might be enough. Really intense, deeper stretch into the glutes and into the hamstrings. But we might find that this front foot, we can loop around the opposite arm. So it's my right foot around my left arm. And then as I lean forward, my right elbow creates this shelf, or the right upper arm and elbow create this shelf as I lean in, and that left leg might lift. And in time, my hips and hamstrings might let me lift that leg up, and we can change sides. You might find one side easier than the other. Or you might still be working with leaning forward or finding the twist. And the twist, eventually we might have a go with working towards our grasshopper poses. But I will bring these to you in 2 separate videos over the next couple of weeks. So from here, we're going to leave our standing pigeons, our chairs behind. Find your way to about the back or the middle of the mat, feet are hip width apart, turn the toes out, start to lower all the way down into our low squat, Sukhasana. Heels might be lifted, so you might be using a block to give yourself a little bit extra support here. We might have one final balance. We've been balancing on the feet, one foot, or we might have a go with balancing on the arms. Maybe you've already had a little go if you have already come into flying pigeon, or if you know where you're moving to go with your standing pigeon twist into your grasshopper. Or we might be down in our Sukhasana, our low squat, and flaring the elbows out, starting to hug, squeeze the knees into the arms, placing the hands down onto the mat, lifting the chin, leaning forward, engaging through the core, and maybe having a go with our crow pose. Focusing on the breath. Remember, with any pose, don't force it. Whenever you're ready, come on out. And we're going to come all the way down onto the back. And bending into the knees. A few different variations here before we move into Savasana. See which one feels more accessible, more comfortable for you. So we might keep the feet on the mat and then drop the legs over to the right. Or we might bring the knees into the belly and then drop the legs over to the right. Or we might cross the left leg over and drop the legs over to the right. Letting the arms relax, left hip points up towards the ceiling, roll the right shoulder away and down to the mat. So we might be looking over that left shoulder as we come into just a little twist. Focusing on the breath. Slowly coming back up. If we cross the legs, I'm crossing them, and we might be moving with the feet on the mat as we drop the legs, the knees over to the left. Maybe you're bringing knees into the belly, then rolling over to the left. Or if you cross the legs, we can have go on this side. We cross right leg over the left leg, rolling, dropping the legs over to the left. Right hip points up towards the ceiling. Roll the right shoulder blade down towards the mat, and we can look over the right shoulder for our twist. When you're ready, slowly coming back to centre, And crossing the legs, you might take the feet wide, letting the knees drop in, or stretching the legs out, letting the feet relax. Hands can fall onto the belly, they might fall softly away from the hips, palms facing up or down. Gently tucking the chin towards the chest, aligning the back of the head, closing the eyes, bringing your awareness to your breath. As you move into Savasana, final relaxation. Slowly bringing your awareness back to your breath if your mind has wandered. Starting to remind movement back into the body, wiggling the fingers and toes. Gently stretching the arms, the legs. Drawing knees in towards the belly, wrapping the arms around the legs, give the body a little hug, maybe rocking from side to side. Rolling over to one side. As you gently bring your awareness back into the room, starting to blink the eyes open. And coming up to sitting. So thank you very much for joining me for this Vata pacifying practice. Hopefully you've enjoyed taking a little bit of flight if you had to go with any of the arm balances, but also feel a little bit more grounded working with our balance. If you feel that it still needs a little bit of work, then focus on the core, and I'll pop a couple of videos here with a core building sequence, so we can work with the belly breath, or you can work with the sequence that was released, which will be last week for our core work. And Vinyasa flow practice that I filmed when we were out in Morocco. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, click the link or button here. It really does help with videos being available on YouTube. If more people subscribe, it just gets a little bit more notice, which is awesome. If you have got any comments or questions, do leave them in the comment section below. If you would like to see more practices like this, then again, pop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, do give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste.